I love it. You
Do I
look
look amazing?
fabulous. Fabulous, fabulous.
I am fabulous, girl. I am fabtabulous.
Fabtabulous. Oh wow, that's a new one. I've never heard that. So hey, well, oh my gosh, welcome, happy Saturday! Yay! I am so excited to be here. One thing though, yes, this is the last show of the year of 2023. It's a little saddening, right? But at the same time, it's so exciting because we are welcoming a wonderful new year, 2024. So happy that you guys are able to make it today. Please let us know in the comments where you're joining from. We have a fantastic, phenomenal, just stellar guest today. I'm so excited to introduce her to you all. But yes, let us know where you're, just tuning in from. Tell us and connect with one another in the comments. This is what the Connection Corner is for. This is why we created this space, to be able to connect with other folks all over the world from across industries, different communities, to come together, unite. I'm gonna give my speech. Yes, like if I was in a pageant. More peace. What do I want? Peace in the world.
Look, I'm not in my normal I went, girl, I'm in a great mood and we're just going to ride that wave out today. It's going to be a see a happy show day. Just girl, keep going. I love your connection corner. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of great amazing people today. And you know what? That's the joy of everything here. I mean, god, we've got some really our guest today. Let's just say it right now.
Oh.
Dr. DeGood is bringing some like party that like I don't know, but
Oh.
um Patrick Ahern knows exactly what I'm doing here. It's called eating chicken wings.
Yes, she was actually giving me I guess, behind the scenes ASMR session of eating chicken wings. So it was quite pleasant, I should say. No, no, it was not. So, Steven, brother, amigo, mi hermano, te quiero mucho. Feliz Año Nuevo. So, yes, let me go ahead and say Happy New Year to my Spanish folks before we dive into the conversation. Feliz Año Nuevo y próspero Año Nuevo para toda mi gente de Latinoamérica. Los quiero muchísimo. Gracias por el apoyo que me han dado a lo largo de este año, a través del 2023. Siento y tengo una corazonada que el 2024 va a ser muy lleno y va a estar lleno de bendiciones, de éxitos y muchos logros para todos. Un abrazo, un fuerte abrazo a lo lejos. Siempre estén unidos, nunca, nunca separados, porque en la unión está la fuerza. Gracias, chicos. Thank you, guys.
Gracias. And oh wait, if I can just say Happy New Year in Thai.
Yes, go for it.
So what DP my that's it. That's all I
Oh,
know.
girl, I thought you
I
were
mean,
going to give a
I know more, but
speech.
it's really bad. So it's like everyone that speaks Thai knows it's bad. Even my boyfriend who doesn't speak Thai, he's like, "Oh, girl, your accent."
You're like,
Woo.
don't do that.
He's like, even I know that's bad." And I'm like, "Thank you. I love you. Thank you."
Right, right.
So
No.
much for trying to impress people on New Year's. But anyway,
Yes.
um, so
Let's get the
let's do it.
party started, y'all. So let's go ahead
Let's
and run
get
it
this
in.
party
Hey, let's
started.
do
Huh?
it.
Let's get this party started in here.
Hey y'all, welcome to my corner. This is your girl Raquel, aka Raki. Step into our world of connections where I'm a proud Hounds of Business Pack leader, which is a community of entrepreneurs committed to sharing positivity, growing together, and never forgetting to inject some fun. Get to know amazing people in this safe space, so come and join me in my connection corner. And dance, and dance, and dance. Hey, hey. They're like, oh my gosh, what did I just tune into? Dr. DeGoods. People are going to be like, what is this? Just joking.
We're very serious people, girl. We're very serious.
We are professionals, okay? We are professionals. Credible. No, but hey, no, that is the
Yeah.
right thing. Remember when you and I were debating about this, and we were having a conversation about it's like if you show personality or if you have some sort of authenticity, like people automatically, like, credibility goes down. And I'm like, why? That's why we're here, to make sure that that narrative changes, right? So
When you get people like Randy Housing and dance, that tells you something. And dance, and
Yes.
dance.
Randy, my love, my OG, you are so awesome. Thank you so much for like literally supporting this entire year. You are amazing. Lou from Toronto, thank you so much for connecting, for just showing up. Tara, oh my gosh, hi love, coming from and it was in New Jersey, right? NJ, New Jersey.
Girl, we're like, where, all of you, where have you been all my life? Literally. Oh,
Yeah,
oh, look at this.
Puerto,
Puerto
yeah, you gotta
Riqueño.
roll that R. Come on, girl. I
Riqueña.
trained you the whole year.
So I know. Puerto Riqueña. Puerto
Puertorriqueña con sabor. Vamos. Yes, girl. This is what I love, right? From all, shout out your country, shout out where you're from, who you're representing. Like, I love it because we embrace one another and it's just all unity. It's a community. Come, unity, as I usually say it. But Giovanni. Oh, sorry if
Uh-huh.
I butchered that. But thank you so much for, commenting, being here. And I'm seeing a new crowd, y'all. I don't know if it's because everyone is literally off work and if on vacation, maybe they have time to be, scrolling.
Hey, by the way, Tausi.
Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes.
Janice, we love you,
Let's
girl. Literally, I'm using it.
let's shout out our sponsors really quick. And
Okay.
as the year has progressed, we've had so many different collaborations that we've had with so many different individuals that we've partnered up with, collaborated with, and I just wanted to make sure that I told you all thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. This entire year has been an enlightening journey. And Janice Shokrian, gosh, you are such a beautiful soul. I mean, you were here in my house. I met you in person, and I cannot tell you guys what a beautiful soul she is. Not enough. What I'm saying, uh, and Tausi, just amazing. Tell us a little bit about Tausi.
You guys, it's a pillowcase. That's all it is. But it's patented. Okay, so Janice has a patented pillowcase where literally, it's what you see here. I chose to put against my chair, and it's got a U shape built in. Oh my gosh, look at me moving. And basically, it gives me lumbar support. And then she has this bonus pillow that you can do whatever you want with. So you could just like fill it in if you want to, or if you want to do really spicy, something that she's like totally into, you could actually put it in like this and additional support on your back. Or or as I've done in the past, I have sat on it for buttocks support,
Hey,
but also if you're sitting on a couch or if you're sitting like in a lounge chair or whatever, you can actually use this to help elevate your laptop and or your mobile device, so you're not like getting that neck. I mean, guys, look,
mhm.
check it out. Tausi's amazing. And my mother, unfortunately, when she was in the hospital, um I gave her the Tausi to sleep on because those pillows suck. And she was like, she went from being like, I'm on my deathbed to, oh, get me more. So there we go. So now we have multiple Tausis in our house. So
Yeah, no, definitely Chelsea is life changing. And like I said, I call her the comfort queen. So thank you, Janice, for just, inventing such an amazing product. We love you and we cannot wait to continue launching and propelling Chelsea forward. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We love you. Uh, Next, our one and only, as I always I always tell him that one and only Mike Asherbrenner and Hounds of Business community. What would we be doing? Where would we be, Sia, without the Hounds of Business community? I'm going to tell you that. I learned so much from this community. They have given me so much. Mike Asherbrenner, thank you, thank you, thank you, brother, for believing in me, believing in my vision and my message to the world. This is one of those situations where you've made long life friends, right? This is not just a community. This is not just networking. This is actually a family. So Hounds of Business, there are so many of you in the comments, so many all along this year that we've met in person, that we've chatted with, we've collaborated. And, we haven't met in person, but yet we've collaborated,
oh yeah.
made business, referred. Like, it's, I don't know, there's something to be said about this community. So check him out, check Mike Ashermanner out. And, thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart, y'all. I hope to one day meet every single one of you.
We need to throw like a big old like party one day. And we did a teaser. It was an impromptu in September where there was a retreat in San Antonio to meet Benita coming in from Canada, and all of a sudden it blew up to
Mm-hmm.
13, 15 people at peak. Um, at a Airbnb that we ended up renting out, you guys, and it was
Mm-hmm.
so much fun. It was so much fun. So,
Yeah.
on that note, Brilliant Bee Media, that is my company, and also Raquel is also a contributing member of the Brilliant Beam Media community, and all we do is really bring effective messaging, social media content for businesses. So, on LinkedIn and YouTube, and I don't typically say we touch on the what I call consumer based social media, but we'll help you guys out. But that's not our forte. Our forte is business messaging, making it effective and making it social. So that's Brilliant Bee Media, if you guys want to know. And of course, all ships rise with the tide, as everyone has heard me say.
Yes.
And we all have our own lights. If we combine our lights together, it becomes one brilliant beam. Hence, you guys check it out. We're all about collaboration. So, on that note, girl, I gotta tell you, we're so far behind, like we always do. We're like 15 minutes behind on all these wonderful like comments. So,
Well,
enough about us.
yeah.
Do we want to talk about our guest? That poor girl don't know what she's getting herself into. Like,
Well,
how
first,
did you wrangle this
yeah. So
amazing soul?
before that, I wanted to share a couple of pictures from
Oh
over the
yeah,
holidays. I wanted to tell you guys just kind of some behind the scenes of what we do in a Salvadoran Dominican United States fusion. So yeah, God, do you see how tall Jocelyn is?
I can't believe how tall she's gotten. Like, girl, like I actually didn't recognize her at first. I was like, "Wait a minute, I know that's your daughter conceptually," but I'm like, "That girl's too tall to be your daughter. She must have grown a head."
I
Like, literally.
I have no clue, but I mean, they do have a tall father. But anyhow, so this was just a glimpse of, some of the images from the festivities over on Christmas, and they had a lot of fun. It was very this one felt different, very different, and it was special. It was definitely special, and so I want to thank my family for making it possible for my girls to have a fantastic Christmas, and also their school. Their school has been amazing support. So thank you, teachers, thank you, counselors, thank you, principal, and all the countless staff who have rallied around my girls because they love him. They really love them. I'm just like, oh, it's so wonderful to be part of this community. So if we move forward with the picture, sorry, this is like I said, we dressed up in pajamas. This is actually the first year we do this. We've never done it like together, and so this was very exciting. As you can see, my sister-in-law, my nieces, and the baby, and my brother, and all my nephews. So it was just pretty
Oh my
cool.
god, those are your nephews?
Yeah, two of those, maybe. Yeah, two of those. And the other ones are boyfriends. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay. I was just like, "Damn, you got a busy siblings
no,
there."
no. So anyways, yeah, we move it along, and we have a tradition that we give gifts to our neighbors. So my sister-in-law, who's highly skilled, she's very creative and artsy. I like in that sense, I'm not. So I'm learning a lot from her. So what we do is she wraps these wine bottles or liquor bottles, and puts them in adorns them with flowers, and it's just so beautiful. So we gift those to our neighbors along with our traditional foods from El Salvador. In this case, it's panes con pollo. So if you know what that is, and if you don't know what a Salvadoran panes con pollo is, you are missing out. I'm going to tell you that. Mm-hmm.
I'm only like 5 hours away from
I
you.
know.
I'm just saying.
So yes, I just wanted to wish you guys on behalf of our family, the Flores family, a happy new year 2024. That this year, I hope, many blessings, just success, love, peace, kindness, all the wonderful feelings. But above all, just make sure there's unity. There's nothing like coming together and for a purpose, for one purpose. And to me, that's been the pretty much the highlight of my year, being able to grow even more in this journey with my family, having them by my side. So thank you guys for everything. Thank you, family. My brother, I love you so much. And 2024 is going to be amazing. So yay.
It's going to rock it. Wait, wait, wait. I just want to say, you know what? You had a really great
Oh
2023,
my
so let's
God.
applause that too. Okay, yeah, no.
Yay.
I am humored by my sounds. I'm humored by a lot, girl.
You
All
know,
right,
yeah, reflecting back on 2023, girl, it has been a jump. It's been exponential growth like no other. But that's because I had people like you on my side and like Premium Bean Media. So, but amazing,
but
right?
but I think it's also folks in the comments, and I'm going to highlight some of your comments shortly here. It's not just that; it is folks like our guest today that is just a reminder that when your soul is enriched, everything about you will exude happiness, confidence, and just make the world a better place for others. That maybe, like I said, brilliant beams. Sometimes our own beam is diminished for whatever various reasons, and if we can share it, that just makes life better. And so, would you like to introduce our guest, my dear?
Absolutely. She's been patiently waiting in the back end and she's just probably wondering, what the heck am I doing here on this show? But no, no, we're playing around, we're joking around. But please, please, please help me welcome him. It is my distinct honor and welcome to Raquel Corner's space. Our clinical psychologist, lecturer, and researcher. She's focusing on wellness and psychological resources for hospitals and our healthcare professionals. So please help me welcome Dr. Saloumeh DeGood. I was gonna say
I just want to let you know I'm applauding actually not so much Dr. DeGood, but the fact that Raquel said your name. I just want to celebrate the small wins.
no, but see, wait, I was gonna say her maiden name, and yeah, I didn't want to butcher it. I was like, let me just let it go. She can say it, and but anyhow, welcome to. It's an honor to have you here. Good. Can you hear us? Oh, she's
Oh
muted.
wait,
Yeah, sorry.
I know we'll unmute her. We'll unmute her.
There we
There we
go.
go.
Hello. Yes.
Yay!
Hi. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. It's the maiden name that's challenging, Sia. It's Bozorgzadeh. That's the one no one can ever pronounce. So
Girl, okay, if you see my last name, you will understand. I
Mhm,
get it, and I feel you.
mhm.
So look
Yay.
at this beautiful face right there, guys.
oh,
Let's just appreciate your amazingness because
Yes.
you're. I'm not an aura person, but your vibe is so like I like it. I'm just letting you know right now. I'm feeling you. So help us understand.
well, thank you.
Why did you pick Andrew? Because we just got to get this out of the way. Like, what was is Andrew even in the comments? We got to figure. Is he awake? What's going
Most
on over
likely
there?
he is.
He's here. Andrew's wonderful. He's just, I mean, talk about a beautiful soul. Um, there's a lot of things I think one can say about somebody that they love, right? All the great qualities that they have. But then there's this like ineffable just part of them that is, it just transcends the physical or the mental or the anything in the world. It's
Mhm,
just this like spirit of his that
mhm.
I think he's just incredible. And there he
Well,
is. And he's
we
crying.
we we think the same way because, like I said, when I got introduced to Andrew not too long ago, and this was through the actual the Outlier Project. So shout out to the Outlier. Sorry, the Outlier Project and Scott McGregor. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. It's been very wonderful meeting all sorts of individuals in that community, and Andrew happened to be one of them. And my God, like I'm telling you, he is an amazing soul. And I am so thankful that he actually let you borrow us for a little bit. So, yeah, he's like, he's like, I'm just Salome's wife, husband. That's what he usually says. He's like, I'm not Andrew, I'm Salome's husband. I was like, oh my God. So, shout out, Andrew, to you. Thank you so much for being here
Oh,
and being a great
jeez.
support. But yes, so Dr. DeGood, let us know a little bit about what you do, who you are, just so the audience know how awesome you are.
Yeah, well, I don't know about how awesome I am, but yeah, so I'm a clinical psychologist. I have two practices, one in Chicago, one in Fort Wayne, Indiana. It's called Evolve Wellness. And then, but kind of the most, I guess, passionate part of what I do is through the Sufi Psychology Association, which is a nonprofit group. And basically, and I think, Sia, this goes kind of in line with some of the things you were talking about when you were describing Brilliant Beam. But so Sufi psychology is um, it's taking the teachings or the principles of Sufism, which is about self knowledge. It's a practice in self knowledge, and bringing them into the field of psychology. So it's not just understanding how our brain works, how our mind works, how our body works, how we socially and culturally interact with the world, but also tapping into that part of us that is constant, stable, connects all of us with one another. It's one and the same that we see in everybody. And so it's really kind of bringing that spiritual portion of who we are and however that feels and looks for people into the
Mhm.
into our psychology space.
That's amazing. And I know, Dr. DeGood, one of the things that really stood out, about your story and about you, besides the nonprofit work that you do, which is amazing, stellar, we're going to get into deep into that. But it's your upbringing, your culture, where that drive comes from. Can you tell the audience a little bit about that, your culture background and in the similarities we share? Just because this is one of the things that I love about you and I admire because I see myself in you so much and your message resonates. So go ahead and tell the audience.
Sure. So I was born in Iran, in Tehran. I'm Persian, and lived there till I was about 4, and then moved here, moved to the States. And I guess from that standpoint, it's really interesting, and I think Raquel, you could probably relate. Is when you are an immigrant in the United States, you feel very much. At least growing up, it was always like you feel so different as a kid than others, like it's like I remember small things like feeling like my house probably doesn't smell the way most people's homes smell, right? Like I had this image of like walking into and I don't even think I had any friends that this was actually true, but I felt like every American house you'll walk into is going to smell like, apple pie or chocolate chip
Mm-hmm.
cookies,
Mm-hmm.
and like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
mine did not, like little things where it's like it just, and it's so funny because we watch, and it's so true. We watch TV and we're surrounded by all this messaging, and then we create these notions of what reality is like, and then we start measuring ourselves to that notion, and we're just not measuring up. And so
Mm-hmm.
part of that is that this idea of what the American or true family is supposed to be, and then this, I'm not really measuring up to that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is actually, as I've gotten older, it's like, oh, that's not true at all, right? It's the beauty of America is its diversity.
Right.
But I think that was a little bit, I guess, of my cultural is I'm Persian, grew up in the United States. I like to really lean on the fact that I'm an immigrant. When I misspeak or don't know a word, that's when I tell Andrew I'm an immigrant. um,
Yes.
he
Yes.
yells at me.
Yes.
But yeah, so I think it's kind of seeing the American culture through a different lens has been really interesting. Also, last year I moved from Chicago to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and this has been very fascinating as well because it is a whole different side. It's a different culture here than it is, metropolitan Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm accustomed to. So
Mm-hmm.
it almost feels like going back a little bit in terms of the cultural piece. So I guess that's a little bit about my culture and
I
how.
love that. No, I love that. You know why? Because, like I said, in that sense, I relate so much to you because I've also experienced that. And I do, some of the items that you're mentioning, they do resonate. But one of the things that stands out the most is like you never feel like you really belong because you're still acculturating, you're still assimilating. However, sometimes it's hard for us to really, really look at ourselves and say, wow, I've accomplished that, but still you feel like it's not enough, when you compare it to the rest of society. But like I said, it's one of those things because education for me was very important growing up. And so for you, I imagine coming from that culture background, education was a solid foundation for you. So how does psychology come about though? Education, the interest in psychology, how was that born?
Oh, I was a super depressed teenager is how it was born. It's actually, I think it's an interesting story. When I was a teenager, there was a period where I was very depressed, like suicidal, and I, wanted to take my own life, and I couldn't come out of it. And my father, I remember one day he was crying and he said, I don't know what to do anymore. I just don't know what to do anymore. And I was lucky enough where I was, in that point, I was taking Sufism classes. And so I have a spiritual teacher, a Sufi teacher. And so he said, just write him. And I wrote this, dramatic teenage me wrote this manifesto, 6 pages front and back of like all my angst and how much, society is what it is and all that I'm feeling. And just so, and so I write this manifesto and give it to him. And, he calls me into his office and it was such a fascinating experience. I'll never forget. This was the moment that I wanted to be a psychologist. Was I'm in his office. I'm like 15 years old, and he says, and he's got a stack of letters on his desk that he's going through, and he says, "So what's wrong?" And I couldn't remember for the life of me. I could not remember what I was upset about, what my issue is. And I'm like scanning my entire being, and he's
Mm-hmm.
just reading letters, like giving me time to think. And I'm thinking. And I was like, gosh. And I didn't know. And I just finally, I didn't want to not say, I don't remember. And I just like complained about society. Why is society so bad? And people are this, and, teenagers are this. And, it was just all the complaints that we have about society when you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, he said to me, he said, if you don't change, how do you expect anyone else to? And I
Mm.
didn't understand what that was in the moment. And then he explained to me a little bit about what I was going through and how there's a certain level of sadness and depression that's normal for this time period, and gave me suggestions and tips on what I can do to kind of come out of this. But the most important piece of that was, in that moment, it occurred to me that if my arm was broken, and I'm sitting there in his office, my arm is still going to be broken. I'm still going to have that pain. But the fact that this mental angst and pain that I had disappeared in that moment, um, it occurred to me how much of it was self-created, how much of it was me isolating in my own little world and just picking and picking and picking at myself. And then I was like thinking of my friends and how all of them who were all going through bits of depression at that time were doing the very same thing. We create this way of just comparing to others, and not,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not enough, and all the verbiage and things we say in our heads. So it was that point that I decided I wanted to be a psychologist. And as I
Mm-hmm.
started, sorry, this is turning into a giant monologue, so I'll make it fast.
No,
No,
But
I
as
love it. No, it's
I
literally there is the thing about your experience though is I literally can relate to it. I'm like feeling
yep.
this. Like it is understandable, relatable, and who hasn't written a 5-page manifesto at some point? Like, look, people, we all have.
No, my question was going to be, how prevalent is this, in adolescents and in teenagers and the young adults? Because we really think that they don't have issues, right? As adults, us, I consider adults like 25 and up. Adulting, they don't relate to the issues that we may be facing because they're not paying bills, they're not, going to work here and they're like stressed out, but they do have other sets of stressors which lead to a prolonged, mental illness. So how prevalent is that, would you say, in adolescence?
It is. Now, I do want to, I just want to make a little disclaimer caveat that, in my situation, I was lucky enough that there wasn't a more serious chemical imbalance or something that was kind
Okay.
of causing that, right? That's the caveat, is that for some people, it's not as simple as what it was for me. And not to say that the path was easy, like,
Hmm.
relearning to think is different. But to answer your question, it's very common. I mean, think about what happens as a teenager, right? When you're a teenager, the part of your brain, the orbital frontal cortex, the part of your brain that's responsible for all of a sudden thinking, like independently, thinking about itself, thinking about yourself, that part starts developing. And so it's kind of like, when you have a new toy and you're playing with it, right? Like, so all of a sudden, for the first time, kids in their teenage years begin to can think about themselves. They can think critically. This is why teenagers have a lot of opinions, right? Like when they're like 5 or 6 or 7, they just kind of go along with whatever you say is accurate and it's fine. All of a sudden, as teenagers, everything you say is stupid because now they're thinking
Yeah.
critically and they're like, that doesn't make sense and that doesn't make sense, right? But just as they are, this part of their brain is developing and they're beginning to think about themselves, it's almost like they put themselves under this microscope and they start picking, right? They start finding flaws, comparing themselves to others, right?
Hmm.
And what happens is there's a term in psychology we call personal audience. Is it feels to
Mm.
them that they have a personal audience, like there is an audience that follows them around everywhere, that's judging everything that they're doing. And because they are so focused on themselves and on kind of picking at themselves, I say picking because that's the feel it has. It's like you're just kind of self focused. And because they're so self-focused, they also believe others are focused on them as well. And so it
Mhm.
really is a difficult time. It's just naturally in the brain, it's a difficult time. And so there is going to be an element of this feeling insecure, not knowing who you are, not knowing where you stand.
Mhm.
Um, some of it is actually, it's just how the brain is working. But the other thing is the more time they have, the more they pick at themselves. So
Mm.
it's really important for teenagers to be, for them to be busy, active, sports, doing things with other people, so that they don't have this time to just
Mm.
kind of, you know.
Yes. Yes, I completely agree with that. Just because, I think of my time when I was a teenager and how I felt lost and I felt misunderstood or not validated, not seen. So it's important. That's why I try to show up for other teenagers and empower them to let them know, hey, you got this. You're not alone, and we're here in this. So for me, I know we focused on teenagers, right? But I'm also a healthcare professional, and I know that your journey it took you to focus on those healthcare professionals. So, where did that pivot come from, though, and why healthcare professionals?
Yeah, so prior to COVID, with the Sufi Psychology Association, we were working in hospitals, just doing wellness workshops. So there was a big move in hospitals towards wellness, or there was an attempt to move way more towards wellness because in about 2018, all this research started coming out that showed that healthcare workers have the highest rate of suicide of any profession. And so then there became this push that we need to address this somehow. So I was kind of already working with residents and physicians and nurses, and then COVID hit and the concern became, oh my gosh, they're already stressed, they're already at capacity, and now it's just magnified times like 1,000. It's just insane what was happening in the country. And so we created a program called Caring for Our Caregivers, which basically, as the only you couldn't get into hospitals at that point. People could just donate, and that's what everyone was trying to do: give them PPEs and whatever they could donate. And we
Mm-hmm.
started donating tablets, electronic tablets, with a practice. It's a meditative practice called tamarkos that has been researched to show that it decreases perceived stress and increases positive emotions in times of high stress. So we started giving those to hospitals with headsets. So healthcare workers had something in the midst of the crisis to just help them, you know, de-stress or just take a break from the mental load that they were going under, or they were going through.
Mm-hmm.
And basically that started, and we just started that in March of 2020. So right in the beginning of the pandemic. And, by the end of the year, we were in all 50 states. We were in, at least, I think, 300, I think right now we're in 360 hospitals. We are in 4 countries. And since then, those hospitals have reached out and asked for more resources. So now I go to hospitals and we do workshops there, and we create wellness programs for their other things to be able to help out with what they're going through.
Oh, go ahead, Tia.
I was gonna say, so critical. Help is the key word here. I think, especially post pandemic world that we live in, which I firmly believe we've crossed multiverses. People, we need help more than ever. Even the most comfortable, confident people, we still need each other. And I just love exactly what you're doing. You don't got to be highlighting my face, girl. I'm kidding. Just saying. But no, but it's so true with what you are saying, because I like to think our society now is more welcoming to say, I need help. Are you seeing that as well? Or is there still that battle of like pulling people up and saying, hey, if you need to talk, like, you looks like you need to talk?
Yeah, I think it really depends. It depends on what sector you work in, what field you work in, how accepting it is. And our American society is a little bit more advanced than our European counterparts in the sense of we talk about mental health. Everyone's got a therapist and it's totally fine, right? In Europe, it's still very much reserved for people with significant mental illness, right? So At least the parts of Europe I visited, I should say. But I think it's the problem isn't so much will people talk about it. That is part of the problem. The problem with healthcare workers is that they have spent the majority of their life focused on other people. They are trained to focus on other people. And as a result,
Mm.
by doing that for so long, you don't really know when you are going under because you don't know how to focus on yourself anymore. Right? You're trained. And so this is what we would see during COVID is people are burnt out, people are exhausted, and they would just say, yeah, I could do it. I can do it. Oh, I got it. I got it. I got it. Right. And so typically what was happening and what still it just happens with healthcare workers is they don't recognize the beginning stages of burnout when they're just irritable, when they're frustrated, when they're having a hard time sleeping. They only recognize something is wrong when they're now having infections, gastrointestinal issues, super depressed, anxious, things like that. So
Yeah.
um, it is in part that they won't talk, and also there's concern of mentioning that you have issues or you're dealing with something when your job is to work with other people's health, right? What does that say about you? As I think you guys were talking about this at the beginning of the hour too, is
Mm-hmm.
a little bit about this. But I will say what I see in practice, just with the general public, is anxiety has definitely increased significantly post. It was, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, even pre-COVID, but it's I'm just watching as time goes on, just people are becoming more and more and more and more anxious. And it's become almost so normal and natural to be anxious all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So
And,
that's
and
really,
and that shouldn't be the norm. And I'm glad you brought that up, Dr. The Good, because for me, post COVID, it was like a realization. It hit indirectly and it hit directly. COVID did, that is. And to me, it's just life is precious. And we need to put whatever differences we have aside and really focus on our inner growth and our own, like prioritize our own health. And so to me, being able to speak up a little bit more about mental, illnesses, anxiety, depression, in my culture, we really don't talk about it. It's not one of those things that, there's not a happy medium or a median, I would say. It's either you're sane or you're not sane, that you belong
Yeah.
in a psych ward, right? That type.
yeah.
So when I experienced postpartum depression, I didn't know what I was going through. I knew I wasn't okay, but I didn't have anyone around me to say, "Hey, you know what? Maybe you need to go to talk to a doctor. Maybe you need to talk to a therapist. Maybe think about this or that." No. So I had to kind of like go through that journey myself. So now, when I talk to moms, I just make sure that they're educated about that. So it's all about making sure that your traumas, you turn them into a positive way of helping others when they come along. So, and that is one of the reasons why I continue doing this, and you continue doing this, to actually nurture these conversations to keep going, right? Because we have to have a safe space for individuals to be able to come and say, I am not okay. And it is true what you're saying. It is more comfortable to do it here in the United States as opposed to abroad. And I hope that in the near future, as we move forward, that mentality and mindset will change and hearts will open up. So I just, man, my gosh, I just think it's so amazing. I see all the people talking about mental health and how comfortable they are talking about it now, right?
Yeah.
Post COVID. So with health professionals, do you see that also, or do you see still that hesitation?
Um, I I see it a little bit more. It's also hard because when I work with these individuals, I work with them through. I go into their hospitals and work with them a lot of times, and so it's like this fine line of how much is okay to share within the workplace because the workplace is not your therapy office, right? So it's like you have to be careful too. But no, I see more of that, and to your point, also, Raquel, I think the other thing that which was kind of what we were talking about, the reason for this in particular episode of the show is the other thing that we're seeing come that came out of post COVID is uh, people were always talking about during COVID that people are going to take a inventory of their life and they're going to start living differently. And I think that's very true. What I see now, and it's really fascinating, is I see a lot of individuals that are late on in their career and they are making a huge career shift. Some of them don't even know what they're doing yet. They're
Mhm.
just like, I don't want to spend more of my life and effort in something that doesn't bring me joy and that brings me down, and it might be negative for me or have a negative effect on me. And people are being very brave in taking this step. I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to who are in their late 40s, 50s, who are like, I'm quitting my jobs. I'm quitting this entire field that I have built towards, because this is what you're supposed to do, is built towards this thing. And I don't want to live like this, and I'm going to be shifting. So it's also really kind of interesting and inspiring to see people kind of stop and evaluate, and not kind of get out of the rat race mentality that we've had for so long. And I'm totally generalizing. I don't know. I haven't looked at the research to see how many people are going through this. It's just the things
Mhm.
I've seen from the people I've worked with.
No, well, I can speak on that. I did that. I did that very same thing. 3 years ago, I said, this is not what I imagined my life to pan out to be. This is not how I want the quality of life to be for the next, 20, 40, whatever, however many years I'll be on this earth. But it is true. And you said it's a courageous move. So I applaud those individuals for having the courage to say, this is not for me and I'm not happy. It's okay to say that you're not happy in that regard and actually look for it. Go find what your soul, it's like, I don't know, for me, it's just being able to help people, right? And this is what I said. I always tell, what is it that your heart dictates? What is it that wakes you up every morning and you go and it doesn't feel like work? You find that, merge it, fuse it, and just go after it. And I know it sounds very cliche what I'm saying, but at the end of the day, it is true. It is true. If you are not doing what you love, then you're not going to love what you're doing.
Yes.
Period. So, I mean, it's one of those things. So, my other question about going back to the nonprofit Sufi, for individuals who don't know what Sufi is, can you explain a little bit about that and then let us know about the nonprofit a little bit more?
Yeah, so Sufism, as I said, is a path of self knowledge, right? The entire goal. So it's typically associated with being like a mystical dimension of an inner dimension, a mystical dimension of Islam. What Sufism is it's the entire goal is for each person to know themselves, right? So the belief is that you can't know something unless you truly experience it, so you truly know it, right? That's the only way you can truly know something. So instead of relying on our brain to create ideas of what things are, let's start with what we know for certain. The only thing we know for certain, the only thing I know for certain is I know I exist. So it says start there and start learning who you are. And by who you are, it's not your personality, because that changes. It's not your physical, because that changes. We've all seen that, unfortunately. It's not your thoughts or ideas, because those
Mhm.
change. I mean, those are part of it, but it's that part of you that has remained stable throughout all the changes
Mhm.
in your life. As you've grown up, you've changed. There's this you-ness, this bit of life, right, to you. And so Sufism's goal is
Mhm.
to go back to that. And what Sufi psychology looks like in its practical form is, for example, with anxiety, right? Anxiety, our focus is usually outside of us, right? It's on all the things that could happen. What if this happens? What if I lose my job? What if this happens? What if this happens, right? And we're trying to come up with ways to control all these things that could happen to us, right? In Sufi psychology, we say, let's shift the focus internal and go back to that stable point. And the more you recognize and you have a familiarity with that point of yourself and you know it, the more your focus now is like, okay, if something comes, I'll get through it. I'm pretty scrappy. I know you have this trust in yourself. It's not a fake trust that you're trying to talk yourself into it. It's a trust you actually feel, and you know that you're capable. You will find a way. You're not going to just crumble and give up because everything is happening. So that's a little bit about what Sufi psychology is. It's taking these kinds of the teachings of knowing yourself and bringing it um, into the field of therapy.
Mhm. And that's that, like I said, that I love that you explained that. Thank you so much because I didn't know about it. And now
Most people don't.
the yeah, I didn't know about it. And so for me, it's very important to start learning these things, because you never know when you come across somebody that you have this knowledge there you can share and help a life as you move forward in your journey. Because at the end of the day, it's all about helping, right? And I think there was a question really quick. I didn't see it. Tia, it was about if it's for adults.
Is it only for adults?
Is it
No, no. I mean, like I said, it helped
it's
me,
good.
right? Even as I was a teenager, of learning these things, right? Just learning that, okay, this is where my body is. This is where it's going through. I'll give you an example of a patient I had, and it's one of a very patient who's very near and dear to me. Um, she was a young girl who had an extensive history of cutting, and and cutting and suicidality, right? So she had self-injured a lot. She was very depressed. She was very suicidal. And her and I started working together for a while. And she was a teenager. She was just getting into that teenage phase. And she hadn't self-injured in about 6 months. She was doing much better. And it was Suicide Awareness Week at school. And so, as part of that, they gave everybody a survey. And these are surveys
Mhm.
that basically say, do you have thoughts of suicide? Do you ever feel sad? Stuff like that. They're kind of measuring to see, is somebody at risk?
Mhm.
And she had scored high on these questions. And so her social worker pulled her in and said, um, I'm really concerned about you. This is a social worker at school. Are you okay? And she said, yeah, my thoughts go to this negative place. And then so my
Mhm.
emotions follow along and they get sad and they get depressed. And I know it's going to pass. So I'm focusing on my music and my art. And this is just going to move through. Right. And the social worker was like, do you have a therapist? And called me. And I was like, she's
Yeah.
doing just fine. She's great. Right. But it was, this young girl had recognized that there was a little bit more to her than her thoughts and her emotions, and she recognized that sometimes it's going to go there, right? Especially if you're under a lot of pressure, is what she was. Like, her initial thought is like, oh, this sucks, I wish I was dead, right? Like, it's a horrible thought. But honestly, getting to a place where your thoughts completely change and your emotions shift is a long-term process. And it was amazing to me that she was able to identify who she is separate from the activities of her body and mind, right? Like, okay, my mind is here, and my emotions, I'm feeling pretty crappy right now, but I know this is going to pass. So I'm just going to do some things that I know are positive and are going to keep me busy. And, as my system goes through this process.
Mhm. Go ahead, Tia.
I was going to say that's the critical part you just said right there. It's temporary. A lot of these situations it's hard to accept it while you're in it, in the thick of it, right? But the reality of it is it's always temporary. There's always, there's a song, an 80s song, um, yes, by the Stranglers. I know it's a very bad named band, but there's a song called "There's Always the Sun," and it's literally the sun will always come out tomorrow. God, I'm doing another Annie song now, but that's the whole idea of it. And I love that you mentioned that because we have to remind ourselves it's temporary. All this, anything that we go through in life, it's just now.
Mhm.
Tomorrow, the next minute will change.
And
Raquel, I know. Mhm.
sorry, I just want to
No,
say,
go. Don't be sorry.
emotions, what we've seen, and this is like the emotion regulation therapy or emotion regulation theory in psychology, is emotions come in waves. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And when they peak, it's that high intensity is when we're like, I can't handle this. I want to get rid of this. We want to act, right? The reality is usually a wave is about 15 to 20 minutes if we don't engage with it. So your emotion, whatever you're feeling, will subside, will go down. That intensity will decrease if you're not fanning the flames by, how we do that. We get all in our heads and we keep it going.
Yeah.
But if you're not fanning those flames and you allow it to come and go, it will decrease. It will absolutely shift.
Mhm.
One, because this naturally occurs in our system, but two, because we have an incredible ability to adapt. We
Mm.
can't stay here forever. Our body will make this the new normal and then we're fine. This is how people live in war-torn states and they're still surviving.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, to me that like it's very important that you mentioned that it really she was going back to the teenager, she was able to recognize like okay, and it's so mature, right? Because so many people would like to get just continue being stuck there. And I'm like, no. So it's wonderful to hear that she recognized that and was able to, get the right tools to be able to progress in her life. I love that. So now, how do you, with what type of individuals do you work with? Like, do you do entities as well? Do you go and speak into entities? Because I know you're a faculty. You do teach as well.
I do. So right now we created a course for Shenandoah University in Virginia for their pharmacy students, and it's called Self Knowledge and Meditation in Health with Healthcare. So it's teaching them early on some of these skills of like recognizing, understanding themselves, as well as the incredible skills of meditative practices, things that do help you control your brain. I mean, think about it. Nobody has ever taught us what to do with our mind. Nobody, right? We learn what to do with our body, right? You need to drink this much water, you need to exercise, get this much sleep, but no one tells you what to do with your brain. It just runs amok, right? It decides what it wants to think about. It, picks at us. It makes all sorts of connections that aren't there sometimes. So we've never learned the proper way of controlling our minds and how to actually deal with it. Um, and so, yeah, this is a class that we've taught now 2 semesters. We're going on the third semester. It's gotten, the students really love it. They feel that they're learning skills to help them in the field, and they're learning about themselves a lot. They did a research study on the first year, and they found that students they scored higher on the self awareness scale, and that they were developing more of a sense of self awareness as a result of this course, as well as their perceived stress was going down. Um, so there's that. And then also, honestly, through Sufi Psychology Association is where we do our work for kind of the world, because it's a nonprofit and we can do workshops, giving out to others. I have gone into organizations. We have done work with certain organizations and groups. We also go into hospitals and do work with them. We work with the Tamarcos Association, which is the meditative practice that I was telling you about that shows
Yes.
to decrease
Yes.
stress and increase positive emotions. So
Mhm.
we work with that method of meditation, and we bring that into these spaces.
Well, the big question for me, from me to you, is when are you coming to Houston so we can implement that here in Texas, nation everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is so. Are people able to collaborate with you? To just reach out or? Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of any kind of work like this, you can reach out to the Sufi Psychology Association, and just ask about, we have this organization here. We would love for you guys to come and help us with this. We'd be happy to. Just send us an email. We have professionals all over the globe. I mean, we've done workshops in hospitals in the UK and stuff. So we have professionals who are part of this organization all over, who do the same kind of work, and so we're always happy to help out. It's hard in the nonprofit world because you're just
Yes.
kind of in your own little corner, and you just don't know how to branch out or how to, but yeah, that's what we do
Hmm.
there.
That's amazing, and like I said, I look forward to seeing how we can definitely join forces when it comes to this, because we believe so wholeheartedly in helping one another when it comes to mental health, and so count me in. As like I said, count the entire team in. So talking about moving forward, this we talked about the mind, we talked about the body, and what next? What is in the new year? What do you envision mental health is going to be like in the next 20, 25 years? What is your hope?
Well, I mean, we're definitely becoming more aware, and people are becoming more open to conversations around it, and getting help when they need it, which is great. I think a lot of times people don't know when they need it. They just struggle through because they don't know that something is there for them. Um, so, I mean, I guess I'm hoping all of that is going to be there. I'm hoping a little bit that I think one of the main challenges we have with mental health still to this day has to do with like the insurance piece, people being able to afford it. Um, you know, Insurance companies possibly dictating how many sessions someone gets. There are still some issues around that, but in general, I think it's making it more acceptable and people just becoming more aware. In terms of next steps, we're going into a new year. A lot of times we just kind of say, okay, I don't like this stuff about my last year, and so I want this year to be different because of And so I want to do these things differently. But what I would encourage everybody to do before that is to really sit down with your journals and take a actual fearless look at your current life, right? Get a baseline. How am I doing
Yes.
in these different
Love
components of my
that.
life? How am I doing in my physical balance, my physical health? And honestly, like, how do I feel about this? How balanced do I feel mentally? Do I feel mentally stimulated and like I'm growing and learning? How do I feel emotionally? Do I feel emotionally connected? How do I feel socially? What about in terms of fun and enjoyment? That is such an important part of life. You know, how is that playing a part um, in my life? Is that, sorry, I have to plug in my computer. Apparently, I didn't realize I forgot
Oh
that.
my goodness.
You know, am I doing that? How am I doing? You know, taking a look at all these different avenues for one's life.
Hmm.
How am I doing in terms of work and family life? And then once you do that and you take a inventory of where you're at, the instinct is to jump in and to tackle it all, which you don't want to do because that's a surefire recipe to
Ugh,
fail.
yeah.
So the next thing is just to pick one thing and one small thing and just work on that for this week. And then next week, pick another small thing and work on that for this week, you know, and just little by little, very gradual, begin to bring in movement and change and shift into your life, and resist this urge to change all. And the most important thing I will say, and the thing that we have seen time and time with research, is taking this time out for yourself, connecting with yourself spiritually, whatever that means for you, however that looks, that has been shown to be so beneficial in terms of viewing life in a positive way, in terms of gratitude, in terms of happiness. So making sure you take that time out would be most important.
Oof. I got chills. I don't know about y'all, but I got chills when you said take a fearless look within. How many of us really do that? You know, and we really have to reflect when it comes to what we want out of life. And are we in the right space to be able to do that and attain that? So that right there was like perpetual mic drops. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna drop this mic. I know, no, don't drop the mics; they're too expensive.
Please
But
don't
yeah, I
drop the
know.
mic. Please don't drop the mic.
I see his voice in my head already. And I know, oh my gosh, we're running out of time. This conversation could go over for like 3 hours. I know that, but I will definitely say this deserves and merits a part two, three, four, and five. So if you are open to that, we'll welcome you back anytime. And but before we leave, I really I wanted to ask you, for your personal projects in 2024, do you have a word of the year yet, or do you do that, or do you have like a philosophy or a mantra? If you care to show, you just share with us.
I don't have a word of the year. I've never tried that. I'm not opposed to it. I've just never tried that.
Mhm.
I'm actually going to be spending hopefully this day and the next doing my own fearless inventory and looking at next year. But I think one of the things that I personally am looking to is to be more intentional with everything I do. And by that, I don't mean just, oh yeah, I'm going to be aware, but I mean, even the smallest things of like, before I do something, before I get on this, for example, is to take a moment and write down what is my aim? What is my goal, personal goal for this? And that at least it helps keep me in line, kind of helps keep me set with my own personal intentions and making sure that everything I'm doing also is leading to my own personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
So what could I possibly, what am I getting out of this for my own self, for my own growth? So I think like maybe when I get off with you guys, taking a moment and saying, okay, that was great. What can I take away from this for myself? And
Love
so just
that.
that way, keeping myself on my own path of self discovery and growth, and doing that through everyday life is what I'm hoping to do.
I love that. Carrying it through everyday life. I think that is definitely one of the factors that sometimes we forget. The consistency, really showing up for ourselves every single day. It's hard. It really is because we're not at the same emotional state every day, right? We go through ups and downs, but just remain, just keeping up with that consistency. I think we see the actual results towards the end. Uh, for me, not to change the conversation, but 2023 has been monumentally for me of growth, personal development, And that in itself has impacted my professional journey. And people don't really understand how really imperative it is for us to have a balanced relationship with ourselves, inner relationship, inner peace, and how that projects out to the world and what you're able to do and attract. I believe a lot in the attract and repel. I believe in vibrations. I believe in all of those things, and I hope individuals will start really applying those things as as the new year starts. A golden nugget, Dr. DeGood, that you would like to leave the audience with before we leave.
Oh, geez, I feel like I just gave some,
Yeah,
but wow, you're
you
really
did.
having me dig deep down, Raquel. I think the most important thing is to take time. I can't stress this enough. Is to take the time to tap in to yourself. It's so important because otherwise we live a reactive life where we're just reacting to everything that comes our way, as opposed to kind of taking the reins a little bit, having a little bit more of making it our life. So,
I love that. Sia?
No, I look, I'm like speechless, and that's rare. So, Dr. DeGood, I gotta tell you, it is really appreciative. I would highly recommend everyone in the comments. You guys are making really insightful statements and just contributing to the conversation. I can't highlight everyone. And Hadassah Munoz, I just want to go on record. Girl, I appreciate your comments. They're really long. So like I'm just gonna go out there and say I don't mind covering my face, but it's really hard. Like but it's so insightful, right? Like people like you, Hadassah here saying, look, it's healing. And I think for us to acknowledge each other that there is always a healing process somewhere in different stages, it just makes life a little bit more pleasant, I think. So that's my takeaway. I mean, gosh, you really thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for all the golden nuggets and perpetual mic drops that you've provided along this
thank you
show
for
is
having.
just amazing. And I hope the audience was really taking notes and they reach out to you because, like I said, we all need someone to walk along with us. And what best, a company than having individuals like you who know what they're doing, who are there, who have the heart and who have the experience in the vision moving forward. So with that said, talking about moving forward, y'all. Oh, okay. Well, then let's just go ahead and close out with saying what. I know, right?
I don't have the blower. Boo.
I know we're silly. We had to do something silly. But yes, y'all had to put my tiara really quick on. Just wishing everyone literally a happy new year in 2024. Really digging deep within ourselves and figuring out what is it that we want out of life. What fills our soul at the end of the day. And once you find that, once you are intentional and you find your purpose, your impact is going to be unmatched. Your impact in the world, to your community, to your family is going to be unmatched. For myself, my wishes to you, like I said, is to lead with kindness, lead with love above all. Just become united. And I said it in Spanish earlier. There's a lot of strength in unity, and I know with certain things how they are in the world that we all wish to have peace. So I wanted to give a last shout out before we close out, just because this person is very important to me, and I want to make sure that I recognize her. Um, Sia, I love you.
Oh,
Thank you so much for making this year amazing and this journey. And I'm so excited to move forward with 2024 and what Brilliant Beam team is going to do. Also, Jody Lamb, thank you so much for being an amazing person this year, and your growth has been phenomenal. And one last for me, I have so many wonderful projects that I will be working on in 2024 alongside with so many individuals from the community. But there's one in particular that I'm super excited, and I just wanted to let you know, Adriana Rosales. Thank you for the opportunity. There's more to come, and that we will announce as the new year comes in. And I just wanted to give you a shout out since I saw you in the comments. Thank you for believing in me and in my vision and what we can do collectively as a community. So, without further ado, guys, thank you, Dr. DeGood, for being here. I
Thank you.
love you guys. Thank you for connecting. I see so many comments. I will respond afterwards. Just know that we love you, we appreciate you, and we see you. So, tune next year. Tune next year. I know it's so weird to say that, right?
Woo!
Tune next
Woo!
weekend. We will have another phenomenal guest. And this is a shout out to Sabrina from Healthcare Amplified. She will be our next weekend's guest, and I'm so excited to have that, y'all, because we're going on this conference next year, or the end of January, and where it's about healthcare as well for healthcare professionals. So I love you guys. Thank you for making this year an unforgettable year for me. But I know that this is just the beginning for all of us. So let's stick together, continue connecting, use LinkedIn in the best way that you can to network. If you don't know how to do it, reach out to us in the community, reach out to me, and we will be here together moving forward. So the idea is to create impact. I love you guys. Thank you again, and I'll see you next year.
Bye. Happy New
Bye. Thank
Year.
Thanks for joining us, and I hope our chat inspired you to make a new connection. Please like and subscribe, and let's build a great community in our little corner where we get serious business done by injecting fun. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, come back to Raquel's Connection Corner.